Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Double murder rocks Tankwell community in Bull Bay. Health Ministry to conduct independent assessment of its Enhancing Healthcare Services Delivery project. And later in sports, Windies women takes 2-0 lead in their 3-match ODI series against Pakistan. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. The St. Thomas Police are appealing to residents of Bull Bay for assistance in stemming crime and violence in the area. The appeal follows a double murder this morning in the Tankwell community. Sandy Williams reports.
Residents of Tankwell in Bull Bay, St. Thomas woke up Thursday morning to heavy police presence and the all-too-familiar yellow tape, signs that something had gone wrong. It was not long before residents learned that 2 of their own were murdered. The dead men have been identified as 29-year-old O'Shane Prince and 24-year-old Swison Reese. Both men are brothers.
About 12:40 a.m. this morning in the Tankwell area of Bull Bay, a family was in their house asleep when their door was kicked open by men posing as police, armed with rifles and handguns. They ordered 3 males from the house on the outside, and they proceed to from there they proceed to shoot the males. One of the males escaped unhurt, whilst the other 2 died on the spot.
The gunmen then set 2 houses ablaze before escaping. No one was injured in the fire. The mother of the deceased men, who did not want to speak on camera, says she's not sure why her sons were killed.
Tell you the truth, from I was living here, I never feel that way like I feel this morning. And I feel hurted. For know that my son haven't done anyone anything, and they have just died like that. But I leave everything in the hands of God.
But head of the St. Thomas Police, Superintendent Alison Byfield, believes the killings stem from a feud between men from 9 miles and 11 miles in Bull Bay.
The police has been in the area over the last couple of weeks with operations cordon and search, targeted raid and snap raids in a bid to apprehend persons, especially a wanted man who resides in these areas. We are unable to lay our hands on him, but yet we are still making effort. We are pursuing and we are making effort to apprehend him. We are asking the citizens to cooperate with the police in a bid to apprehend.
Superintendent Byfield is appealing to residents to help the police bring crime under control in the area.
We are asking the citizens to cooperate with the police in a bid to apprehend persons who are involved in criminal activities in these areas, so we can have some normalcy restored to these areas, so persons can live their life and go about their livelihood in a peaceful, calm, and lawful way.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Detective Constable Paul Gordon, who was killed by a man of unsound mind in Linstead St. Catherine in September, was buried today. According to eyewitnesses, the policeman was walking along King Street in Linstead when he was hit on the head with a stone, allegedly by a homeless man. Chairman of the Police Federation, Corporal Rowan James, says the loss of a detective constable is a hard and tragic one.
Today it is very, very heartrending that we have to be going through this traumatic phase, but we are saying to our colleagues, hold strong, hold faith. We have to stay the course and to remain purpose-driven in the interest of our families and our country, and we cannot at this time allow ourselves to be divided. We have to be focused on what lies ahead of us.
Following that killing, there have been increased calls for greater attention to be paid to mental illness, in particularly among the homeless population. The Health Ministry will conduct an independent assessment of its Enhancing Healthcare Services Delivery project. The project essentially allows patients at public hospitals to get some services at private facilities for free. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton gave an update on the matter in Parliament last evening. Vashin Brown has more.
The program, which started in 2019, allows patients at public healthcare facilities to access certain diagnostic services free of cost at private facilities. This only takes place in cases where the public hospitals do not have the equipment or they're not working. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the government has so far spent more than $1.4 billion on this initiative. Dr. Tufton says more than 40,000 persons have benefited so far from the program.
In healthcare, Madam Speaker, when those who need it most and could not afford it were able to get it. The 40,000 plus tests completed to date, Madam Speaker, CT scans accounted for 65%, MRIs 13%, and ultrasound 16% of examinations requested by the different hospitals on behalf of their patients, with a higher percentage of females, 53% of the 40,000, accessing services, and 46% being males. Madam Speaker, under this program, and in keeping with our objective for equitable and universal access, poor Jamaicans no longer have to wait to go without diagnostic tests.
Based on internal assessments, he argues that the program has been successful.
Has been successful, but to be absolutely transparent, we intend to engage external capacity to do an assessment to ensure that the resources were spent in the right way, for the right reason, benefiting the Jamaican people. And we do believe that that is important, Madam Speaker. Now, this is short to medium term. Over time, under the IADB program and other programs, we intend, of course, to equip our hospitals with the basic minimum diagnostic equipment, but still maintain a relationship for when we have gaps in the system.
In the meantime, there have been concerns about the maintenance of equipment used for diagnostic tests in the public health system.
Minimum levels of diagnostic equipment. But you're right, the maintenance issues are an issue. I've inherited that, and we're trying to deal with it. One of the things I've said to the team at the regional authorities and as policy coming down from the ministry is that our diagnostic equipment, particularly those we are now purchasing, must be accompanied with a service level agreement. So no equipment should be bought without some sort of service warranty where you are guaranteed a minimum years of service and a maintenance schedule. The challenge is more often than not, or in many cases, the technical skill sets are not here in the country to deal with some of the maintenance that is required.
Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
In a bid to prevent a fourth wave of the coronavirus, stakeholders in the health sector are again imploring Jamaicans to get vaccinated. The warning comes from clinical coordinator at the Western Regional Health Authority, Dr. Delroy Frey, as countries around the world battle a fourth wave of the virus. For months now, stakeholders in the island's health sector have been sounding the warning of a possible fourth wave of the COVID-19 virus, which could be more severe than the previous three waves. Currently, 7 countries in Africa are battling a fourth wave, as well as countries in Europe. But clinical coordinator at the Western Regional Health Authority, Dr. Delroy Frey, says for Jamaica, that can be avoided.
We cannot change epidemiology, but we can change lifestyle. My instruction to you all this afternoon is that we are not going to let down our guards. We're going to follow the protocols to even more than we were following before to minimize any sort of cross-infection. And it is absolutely important that we go out and get the vaccine.
Dr. Frey says the data show that anyone who is fully vaccinated with any brand of the COVID-19 vaccine is protected against the adverse effects of the respiratory illness.
For those who, for whatever reason, are against the vaccine, I want you to memorize this. Every time you choose not to take the vaccine, please remember the young woman who needs a hysterectomy every month have severe bleeding and has to be waiting to get their service.
In the meantime, he's again urging persons to not be too specific about the brands of vaccine that are given.
Whenever you go to the vaccination site, whichever vaccine is available is the best vaccine for you. I have had the AstraZeneca vaccine, 2 doses, and I feel comfortable and safe that I am protected. And I beg you all to do likewise.
He was speaking at an award ceremony for frontline workers hosted by the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce in collaboration with Sarah Children Foundation recently. And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Following the implementation of a new vaccine mandate at the St. Mary Municipal Corporation almost 2 weeks ago, several staff members did not show up for today's monthly meeting. The high level of absenteeism did not go unnoticed by the chairman of the corporation, Richard Query.
I noticed that our room, into our new policy, we can notice that our room is rather scanty. I take this to mean that a number of our staff members and our senior staff members are not vaccinated. So I would hope as time goes by, we will see more and more persons taking the vaccine and being able to attend our meetings face to face.
Several staff members opted to join today's meeting virtually.
I hope no one thinks this is a free pass not to attend meetings. So the various staff members who have joined virtually, when we call upon you for information, please be available. And I don't mean available to the point where we'll have to wait until somebody tell you, oh, it's your time, and you join. Right? Because a lot of the times we see persons' names up there, but when we try to reach out, the person is only present in name.
4 more Jamaicans died from the coronavirus in the last 24 hours, bringing the country's total death toll to 2,302 people. According to the Ministry of Health, 2 of the victims are from Kingston and St. Andrew, 1 from St. Catherine and the other from St. James. The country recorded 108 new cases of the virus from a batch of 957 tests. The caseload now stands at 89,926. Of that number, 1,139 of them are active. The island's positivity rate is now at 13.7%. 217 people are being treated for the virus at hospitals across the island. 12 of them are critically ill, while 32 are severely ill. In the meantime, 258 more people have recovered from the virus, bringing the total recoveries to 59,936. Mixed views this afternoon to a suggestion from a member of parliament for paternity tests to be done at birth to address domestic violence and paternity fraud. Member of Parliament for St. James Central, Hewart Clark, told Parliament on Tuesday that he plans to table a motion on the matter. Dwayne Anderson reports.
The Central St. James MP raised the issue while making his contribution to the State of the Constituency debate in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. He later provided more information on the plan during Radio Jamaica's Beyond the Headlines on Wednesday.
At birth, before that child is able to leave the institution, there must be the first time the one-off DNA testing to declare. If the female is unable to do so, then that's another question for government to look at.
But social anthropologist at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Herbert Gale, disagrees. He says making paternity tests mandatory won't solve the problem.
There's no way at all that legislation can, in fact, make a positive impact on the situation.
Speaking on the morning agenda on Power 106, psychologist Dr. Lakim Samaj argued that fathers should know who their children are. It's the reason he believes Parliament should give the motion some consideration.
Growing up not knowing and growing up with doubts and so on, those are one of the areas that triggers dispute between people. So that I'm not using that as a red herring, I'm saying that it is good to have paternity tests at birth so that you know who your father is and the child might know who his child is.
In the meantime, Dr. Gale believes poverty is the major driving force for paternity fraud. He wants lawmakers to focus on lifting the standard of living to effectively deal with the matter.
When people are in poverty, they sit down and they make a decision, not based on morals, but based on rationale. How do I make sure this child survives? And therefore, if you want to solve paternity fraud, you have to solve poverty. No country at all with high levels of income have these problems. It's an indicator of poverty. So why skirt around solving poverty and attack women? It is just bizarre.
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
8 days and counting since residents of Sioux River in St. Catherine have been without piped water. TVJ News understands the power lines at the pumping station responsible for pumping water into the community have yet to be fixed. Codian Barrett reports.
This is how residents of the Glengough area have to get water for their daily activities. For the past week, the community has had no water after a tree fell on the power line at the pumping station, resulting in no electricity to pump water. According to residents, while some efforts were made by the Jamaica Public Service JPS to restore the lines, the repairs are incomplete and the lines are at risk of further damage from another tree if not fixed urgently. In the meantime, residents have resorted to other means to get water.
Right now, the river is the only source of water, and I don't believe that it is safe at this time. And especially at nights, people who work in Kingston, they have to line up at a little spring at nights, long lines at nights to catch water, just because the Jamaica Public Service has failed from last week Wednesday to restore power to the pumping station.
The issue has been made worse with the resumption of face-to-face classes at some schools. The councillor says he has been trucking water to the school, but it will not be enough. He also pointed out that when similar issues arise, the JPS moves with no urgency.
Whenever there's no electricity here, over the years, it takes 5 days, 6 days, 10 days for JPS to come here at Sioux River to restore electricity. And this is unacceptable. What must the people of Glengough and its environs do? Where are they going to get drinking water from? They have to go to the rivers. They have to line up at a little spring down by Grove, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the night to catch water. This cannot happen.
Then take you days before they come majority of the time. You understand? So community people them suffer many times. Meat, some people have meat in them fridge more time, it's spoiled. For me understand, one lady tell me say, you have meat, and you have to just cook and just call people to come eat. Right? It got spoil and throw it. Him alone couldn't manage it.
In response, Public Relations Manager at the Jamaica Public Service, Audrey Williams, says the area is currently waterlogged, which makes the repair a difficult undertaking. Ms. Williams indicated that the team has so far managed to replace the pole, which was broken by a fallen tree, but the team has been facing challenges in its efforts to remove the transformers. The team estimates that the job will be completed by Thursday. Codian Barrett, TVJ News.
And it's now time for the Business Minute.
In the world of business, Wasinko Group has struck a deal for warehouse space in Trelawney. It will serve as a hub for its distribution activity in western Jamaica. The company leased a 20,000 square foot facility at Hague from Factories Corporation of Jamaica. Wasinko plans to grow the warehouse to 370,000 square feet. The company is already retrofitting the building to suit its needs and will also undertake work on roads and parking areas. Business process outsourcing BPO operator ITEL has raised over $3 billion in funding from the bond market. It plans to use the funds to increase capacity and expand its geographic footprint. ITEL has seen significant growth over the past 2 years, having expanded operations to St. Lucia before expanding its footprint to the Guyana and Honduras market through the acquisition of Emerge BPO. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Codian Barrett.
And it's now time for the top regional and international stories with Sandy Williams.
In regional news, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, is urging regional countries to invest in primary health care urgently. PAHO's director, Dr. Carissa Etienne, on Wednesday said urgent investment is key to improving health systems continuously weakened by the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Etienne added that chronic underinvestment has made the Americas vulnerable to COVID-19, noting that with cases rising in some parts of the region following a 2-month decline, it is vital that countries remain vigilant and prioritize public spending in health so that no one is left behind. On the international scene, former President of South Africa, Frederick William de Klerk, has died. He was 85. He was the last white president of South Africa. He shared the Nobel Peace Prize with Nelson Mandela in 1993 after freeing the anti-apartheid leader from prison after 27 years. Mr. de Klerk, who was also a key figure in the nation's transition to democracy, had been diagnosed with cancer earlier this year. Mr. de Klerk was head of state between September 1989 and May 1994. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report. Simon Preston is here.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. The West Indies women's cricket team have taken an unassailable 2-0 lead in their 3-match one-day international series against Pakistan after recording a 37-run victory in Karachi today. After being sent into bat, the Caribbean side were bowled out for 153 inside 46 overs. Deandra Dottin, who hit a century in the first game, top scored with 34. Hayley Matthews made 26, while captain Stefani Taylor added 23. Fatima Sana, Anama Min and Umaima Sohail took 2 wickets each for Pakistan. In reply, Pakistan were bowled out for 116 inside 40 overs. Hayley Matthews led the way with the ball with 4 for 26, while Shamilia Connell took 3 for 18. Matthews was awarded the player of the match, and she said she had full confidence in her team to defend 153 runs.
Yeah, I think going out there, we were probably looking to get a bit more runs on the board. But with that being said, I think when we got out there and got a total of 153, we knew with the wicket at hand it was a defendable total. We just had to bowl the right areas and use the pitch to benefit us, and I think that's what we did really well in order to restrict Pakistan today. Captain
Taylor says the batting is still a concern for the Windies.
Well, we know that from ever since that, our batting is, been struggling, just to say. And we want to get to that stage where we are comfortable, batting first. And if we get put in, then, it doesn't matter because we are comfortable doing that. And I think once we get to that stage, it, becomes easy.
The West Indies leads the series 2-0. The third and final ODI is slated for Sunday. The West Indies is using this series in preparation for the World Cup qualifiers later this month in Zimbabwe. Finally, this afternoon, Pakistan posted 176 for 4 off their 20 overs against Australia in semi-final 2 of the ICC T20 World Cup in Dubai. Mohammad Rizwan top scored with 67. Mitchell Starc took 2 for 38 for Australia, while Pat Cummins and Adam Zampa took a wicket each. At sports time, Australia had reached 122 for 5 after 15.1 overs. The winner will join New Zealand in the final on Sunday. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Ashane, it is over to you.
Thanks, Simon. And that's it for the Midday News. I'm Ashane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.